But when the takeover happened here at the Etihad, and they brought in all these players, it still took a while before they won the title, before they became competitive, before they started playing Champions League football on a regular basis. And I'm seeing and looking at Newcastle now. They got to a cup final, their first one since the 90s. And I'm just thinking, next season, how many players are going to be shipped out? Do you feel how many are going to be brought in? Because I was looking at the bench during the cup final, and I was looking at Manchester United's bench, and you could see there was a big. I'm not trying to be harsh, but you could see there was a quality difference between the two sides.
We've got to be honest. We've got to be honest. Newcastle is full of players that are giving 100% for the club, dedicated, honest. They work hard, and that you cannot take that off them. But when we're talking about real quality, a game like today, for example, where it's pure quality that wins the game. You know, it's Silva and Foden, two individual finishing. So we haven't got that. Newcastle haven't got it, and they're looking for the way they win is collectively. You know, in and out, crosses in, and somebody to finish. They haven't got that spark or anything else to win games. And for me, it feels like Newcastle hasn't got a plan B in terms of, you know, yes, it's all about high press and winning the ball as quick as you can to finish. But you see that since the World Cup, yes, you're getting found out. Yeah, the first part of the season, you kind of play what you know and how you're meant to be playing. But you know, since Christmas, you can feel that every team start to know what's Newcastle about.
And I guess Eddie Howe has to be ruthless.
Well, first of all, going back to the question, I mean, Manchester United have a lot more money than Newcastle in the FFP. So essentially, Man United can go and get those players. Yep. Newcastle haven't earned the right to do that at the moment because they haven't qualified for Champions League.
But they did not spend much for many, many years, so that would have built up a little bank.
But my point being is that you still got to sustain that.
Yeah.
Manchester United will sustain that with off-field revenue because they are one of the biggest clubs in the world. So I would argue that their FFP is much, much greater than Newcastle's. It makes success in Europe, i.e. qualifying for Europe, even more important for Newcastle in order to go and buy these big players that maybe you're suggesting maybe Newcastle fans want. My limited knowledge of how FFP works. I mean, if they get a Champions League, they're going to have at least 50 million more to be able to recruit players. So league finishing position is going to be crucial for Newcastle. Defeat today was big because obviously they dropped out the top four. There's still a chance if they can get things back together. Losing to Manchester City at the Etihad isn't an embarrassment, and they created a lot more chances, I feel, than Manchester City did. So it wasn't even a bad performance necessarily. But they can't let this become chronic now with 3 defeats in a row, where they just drop off the radar and then just become a top half finishing side, because that's not going to attract players. And also, again, going back to FFP, they're not arguably going to be able to afford players.
Yeah,
it's a very, very important point. You know, if you're not in the Champions League at the end of the season, you will not attract the better players. And that's, you know, on the player side of things. As a player, you want to play in the Champions League. Yes, is the team you go in is attractive enough? Maybe not. You know, if they don't finish in the top 4, it's going to be difficult to attract them better players. You know, with the likes of Bellingham, for example, on top of my head, that's one of the targets. If you're not in the Champions League, there's not even a point to put a bid in.
Yeah, there is another issue here, and I mean dare I say, we're shuffling the pack. I mean, Manchester United, for example, or Man City, if they were to get rid of one of their key players, then you'd also be losing a heavy wage, which you could use towards a new player. Yeah. My understanding from what I've seen on the news is that Newcastle aren't paying Manchester United or Man City wages. So therefore, to attract top quality players, you're going to have either break the pay structure or, again, go deeply into whatever your outgoings are with regards to FFP. So, but let's be right, Newcastle weren't top 4 at the beginning of the season.
No.
They weren't the side who were challenging for titles or Champions League. What Eddie Howe has done, he's put them in a position where actually dropping out of top 4 seems like a bad thing. But if you gave Newcastle 6th place at the beginning of the season, I think most people would have gone, wow, that would have been a great season.
I think at the start of the season, you would have want Newcastle to be in Europe.
Yeah, any Europe.
That would have been an achievement in itself. Because we've had such a fantastic start of the season, you think, yeah, we can stay in that fourth position and hold on. The fact is, there's other football clubs that are pushing for that fourth spot, because I believe the first three are kind of decided already. That fourth spot's going to be a lot for Newcastle. I would love to see them, obviously, but we've got to be realistic. Newcastle's done well. You know, we're talking probably a year ago we were not in that position.
No, you're fighting relegation. There's a big difference right there.
We've got to be very, very careful when we talk about the work that Eddie Howe's been doing. And yes, over the last 3 games, you've been beaten, but it doesn't, undermine the work that he's done for the club and for the team. So he's got a team that perform week in, week out. Just need a bit of quality for me in that Newcastle side to be able to fight for that fourth spot.